Now we're going to dive in and talk about websites. And I'm excited about this one because website is something that a lot of artists tend to set and forget. And for those of you that maybe have done that, this might be your time to kind of have a look at your website and see if it feels like it needs a refresh. And I've looked up some new statistics, and just like in my email stat today, I'm going to start with two quotes that I thought were really interesting about websites that are up and around. 81% of people research a business or service online prior to making a purchase decision, meaning they look at your website. So almost 50% of all people online believe website design is the #1 factor when judging a business's credibility. So that means you've got to get your stuff together when it comes down to having an effective website. Now, let's address the gorilla in the room. A lot of artists find the idea of building a musician's website daunting and unnecessary and annoying and expensive. And do they really need it? Do you really need it with Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and Spotify and Bands in Town and TikTok and Songkick and Deezer and all the other darn profiles you need to manage? In a word, yes. Certain amount of business and fan growth will, of course, take place on social media, but if you don't have an effective website, you're going to have a hard time being found and noticed by fans and industry, meaning the media, bloggers, promoters, managers, etc., alike. So you absolutely need to have your own domain. It represents your personal shingle on the web that is fully in your control. As we have now seen, effective social media trends, they come and they go. Hello, MySpace, Facebook, and anything else that tends to change the rules on us. First, people used to see our Instagram posts. Now they're only seeing stories. Now they're seeing fewer stories. They're only seeing reels. The good news is your domain is yours forever. It's fully in your control, and you are not worried so much about the trends that are coming and going. However, you do want to have some best practices. That's what we're going to go through today. The days of the $5,000 website are pretty much, unless you are building a hardy and robust website with a lot of shopping cart action, or you've got a huge merch store, or you're delivering tremendous amounts of digital downloads, or you have Shopify connected, you will not need to spend a lot of money. I think a lot of musicians and artists tend to overdo it. I also know a lot of artists and musicians who started with WordPress, never quite fully got to really understand WordPress is like a toddler. You need to pay attention to it constantly. It's always over here deleting something that you put on it, or you need to update it every couple months, and it's a pain in the butt when you get in the back end. So we recommend using something a little bit more simple. If you're willing to do some of the work, we recommend using a templated design. I'll talk about those two. And you can create one of those for less than even $10 a month with zero upfront costs. So who am I? Why am I here? How did I get here? My name is Ariel. I run Cyber PR Music. It is a strategy firm for mostly independent musicians and bands. I have been doing digital as long as digital has been digital. Before that, I was doing traditional PR. Faxing press releases is where I got my start in the music industry. I'm from New York. Part of my business passion is writing articles, writing books, and demystifying what is confusing and overwhelming. I love to travel, and I have been to 12 or 13 countries, speaking to artists and creative people about how to get better at marketing and promotions. Found this photo of myself in London presenting at the PRS house on the hottest day of the year in 2009 with zero air conditioning, no air, and the hot sun was streaming down. I almost fainted and I touched my hair 362 times, and it was a great day. Okay, so the basics about websites. Your website exists to do two things. Number one, help you engage with your current fans and educate them and make new fans. Number two, make money. That's it. So I think we're through the days where people have like a lot of crazy on their websites and like welcome screens with videos and things that move and things that are confusing and things that you need to plug in to make happen. That's the good news about the sort of affordable, effective website builders that have come into the world. But for those of you that maybe have a website and it still feels like 1999 is calling, they don't want their website back, it's time to upgrade. Okay, first you want to choose how to build your site. Option one is a pay-as-you-go website builder. We love Bandzoogle and we love Squarespace. I like Bandzoogle primarily because it is specifically designed for bands and artists and musicians, and all of the things that you could possibly need and want are there. And they also have really good customer support. You can email if you're feeling shut down or confused and they get back to you. Plus they're Canadian and everybody loves a good Canadian. Actually, recently Bandzoogle has been acquired, actually not really acquired, it merged. It merged all of Host Baby, which was CD Baby's websites. And so they're now the mighty, they're Host Baby and Bandzoogle. They're just now Bandzoogle. If those are not templates that you like, we do also love Squarespace. Option number two, behind door number two, you can work with, of course, a web designer. If you're challenged by using the builders, they are navigable, but they're not that easy. So you might want to think about hiring a designer to help you initially. Look around if you've got communities of other folk artists, maybe one of them is for hire and can help you. Of course, there are always websites like Fiverr where you can go onto the international market and hire someone who does this and maybe has a less expensive cost of living, so the price goes down. Okay, so the first thing you need to know about websites after the fact that you clearly need one is responsive design is a must. Now, what does responsive design mean? It basically just means your site must load and look really good on a phone, a tablet, and on desktop. This used to be a problem much more than it is a problem now, where artists would like work really hard to design a more old school website, and then we would realize that it looked like crap on a little screen. Now, especially if you are working with a provider like a Bandzoogle or a Squarespace or Wix or Weebly or any of them, they think about responsive design, meaning how does it look when you're scrolling on a phone? And I always like to look at Google Analytics in the back end of your website, which is something you must install. If you don't have Google Analytics installed on your website, install it right now. Not right now, after I'm done talking. But you want to see what percentage of people are actually discovering you on a phone or on a tablet. You'd be amazed. I'm already noticing about 60 to 70% of all people that come to visit my website are visiting it on a tiny phone. Concurrently, you also want to see when people are opening your newsletters, are they opening from a phone versus from a desktop? Okay, found some great little nuggets from Graffiti 9. 57% of internet users say they will not recommend a business with a poorly designed website on mobile. In other words, they go to your website on their phone, they're trying to find, is there a show? Is there a live stream? Can I buy a ticket? Where are they on social? If they can't find any of that, they're pissed off. 38% of people will stop engaging with a website if the content or layout are unattractive. Unattractive, now that's a bit subjective, right? Attractive to you and what your brand looks like might not feel attractive to someone else. But I thought this was worth mentioning, that just if you're turning people off, it's not a good thing. 40% will never come back. One way that you could possibly be turning people off, and this is something I do see artists do, is they haven't thought about a brand consistency across the whole website. And so as people are scrolling or clicking around, the color is changing, the font is changing, the photos all over the place are changing, and there's not a consistent sort of journey that you're taking your fans on. You want to be mindful that you are doing that. And there's a lot of great examples of websites that I had fun curating for this presentation. So I will be showing you some things that I saw that I think are great. Okay, you want to make your homepage pop, 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 pop. Your website should be easy to navigate. One-page scrolls are very popular right now because they have a wonderful user experience, just a big photo on the front. If you'd rather have a multi-page site, and we do actually recommend for those of you that already have multi-page sites, do not go back to like just one simple scrolling. If you're starting building a brand new site, maybe to get up and running, you want to start with one scroll page, but we recommend multiple pages. We also recommend 7 sections that every musician should have on their website. That's coming up in this presentation. Your homepage should feature your name and your pitch, or a captivating image that makes people understand who you are and what you sound like. Now, this is a stat that I've read, and I found it on Sewer today, but it's all over the internet. It takes about 50 milliseconds for a user to form an opinion about your website that determines whether they like your site or not. Okay, so that's not a lot of time. Your site obviously needs to support your brand, color, logos, images, videos. All of these things are incredibly important to help tell your story. And of course, you want to make your socials match your site color and style. So in other words, if someone comes to your website and it's pink, and you're all about the pink, and then they click onto any of your social media and there's no pink, something will happen in their brain that will make them feel like they are not computing a consistent look and feel, and they could easily be distracted and go away or get turned off, and they won't know how to articulate that. They're just oddly jarred that it doesn't all look consistent. That's why when you think about major label artists that come out, I always like to look at how giant artists are positioned, and you will notice that there is massive brand consistency. I always like to think of Alicia Keys. When she came out, we saw two things. We saw a hat, we saw braids. Every time we saw Alicia Keys, hat, braids, I began to think, like, is there something wrong with her head? Why do we not see her head? And then years later, she took her hat off. She had a beautiful head. But if you could think about Arista and Clive Davis and their thinking around, okay, we have a Black woman, there's many Black women coming into the scene. She sings soul, R&B. There's many other artists that are doing that. How are we going to differentiate Alicia from all the other artists so people don't get confused in the land of too much choice? Hat, braids. And they kept that message consistent for the first, I think it was over a full year after she was out. Every video, every photo. Of course, she got the liberty to do whatever she wanted to do because she's Miss Alicia Keys. But I'm always fascinated by how that all rolls out and what that looks like. And I always like to watch the people that have the most money, because when you have infinite money, you can hire brand experts who will tell you what to do. Okay, here are some examples of pages that pop. Laura Risotto is a past client of mine. I love her styling and graphics. And then I just chose a couple of wonderful examples that I just came across, and I'll share them here. Gangsta Grass, they're a bluegrass hip hop artist. I really, really love this main call to action. And this we're going to talk about. So this is their homepage. You've got this cool paper tear collage of them. And then it's an immediate invitation, join the movement. enter your email to stay in the loop and get a free download. So immediately they're inviting you in, as is Scylla here. Join my mailing list, get a song for free for updates. She's beautiful, she's bold. You can see this, interestingly, these are both Bandzoogle websites. These are very similar templates, right? You've got the email, newsletter, sign up, and the large pop graphic right on the homepage. I actually prefer Scylla, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, Scylla's website, because it's got the scroll bar across the top. Gangster Grass made a little bit more of an artistic choice. The scroll bar is in the hamburger. You can see that. You have to click on that and then scroll down. Both of them have social media on the bottom right-hand side, because the main call to action on these poppy homepages is get on my email list. And as much as I do also advocate for having your social media sites everywhere, as you should, you don't want people to get distracted and immediately go, oh, TikTok, and then you've lost them forever. So trying to get their email address on the homepage is a brilliant thing. For your website, you want to create the following 7 sections. Say that 10 times fast. Number 1. Your pitch. Your pitch does not have to be lengthy to be effective. It just has to explain your sound. Now, interestingly, when we go back to these, none of these artists actually have their pitch. I think with Gangsta Grass, the name is in the pitch. It's Gangster Bluegrass. That is so obvious. With Scylla, the thing that I would do instead of this long forgotten road call to action, which is her new record, I would have put a quote here about what does she sound like? What would I expect? Okay, pitch. If you don't want to use like a few words about you, you can use a great quote about you that the media said, or accolades. And I've got 3 great examples. Example 1. This is Heather May. This is her pitch. Queer, fat, femme, singer-songwriter, mental health writer, and your new BFF. Hi, I think you're amazing. I love Heather May. I interviewed her for my new book, The Ultimate Guide to Music Publicity. She really nails her brand. Now, of course, this might not be everyone's brand. This might be too loud for you. You're not out, you're not fat, you're not this. Don't think about that. Just think about like, look at what she's said, all about, it's so clear and it's amazing when you get on her website. And it's about her, but it's about you. This is my client, Mary Jennings. She's been my client for over 10 years now. She's got a new record. She pulled a quote from the media: amazing heights and powerful depths from one note to the next. Gives you a sense of the journey that you go on with Mary. And then here's a folk artist. I actually Googled top folk artists in the UK, and a lot of things popped up. Emily Portman is one of them. This is something she's done, which I really like, which is she's used accolades to position. So she's not saying like what her genre is or anything about herself, but she's the BBC Folk Singer of the Year nominee. Boom. Clearly we know she's from the UK. She's a folk singer. She had the Folk Awards. Her album is out now. Then she's got quotes: a marvelous original work, and on like this. And this is really, really beautiful. This is like really nice things that have been said about her. The media positioning is brilliant, but you could also do this: a quote from your mom, a quote from your fan, a quote from anyone is fine here, because people always believe what others say about them more than they believe what you say about yourself. That's just a marketing psychology. So Emily's site is beautiful. I think it fits her vibe. I listen to her music. This fits her brand. Okay, second part, your artist bio and your press kit. Why did I put that here as the second thing? Because so many artists weirdly leave this off of their websites. And because I'm a publicist and I work in the world of marketing, I will tell you that promoters and other people that are trying to get information about you really want to have your press kit and your press section. Your bio is crucial. Make sure it's up to date, tells a story, it's captivating, and it is the foundation of your brand. You also want to make sure your photos really capture who you are and give clear instructions on how they can be downloaded. I used Heather May again. Her website is like a treasure trove of gorge. Again, this might not be your brand, but I just love, she's got 2 bios here. She's got one, which is in the first person. She's saying, hi, I'm Heather May. It's really personal. Then she's got an official bio. So like if the media is coming and they want to cover her and they need to know about her accolades and the things that she went through and it's more historical, I love that she put both in. One is very personal, one is a little more formal. It fits every need that you could have. This is another artist featured in my book, Rich Aveo. I love his direct approach here. This is so inviting. I'm Rich Geneval Aveo. I believe that the world is at its best when its individuals are elevated. This is the only way we can fly. Speaking of flying, and he is going to take you right in on what we call the customer journey. He's going to tell a story about flying, and it makes you want to read more. But it also gives you a really nice sense of kind of who this person is. Look at the vibe here. He's really captured his vibe. And then he's got something that I have seen very rarely on musicians' websites. He's got a chat bot right there. And I'm going to actually email him and ask, how is the chat bot going? Do people actually want to chat with him? And you know, how is that working? It's a great way to capture fans. Okay, here's a more traditional one. This is Shanna in a Dress. She's a folk artist based in Boulder, Colorado. I also featured her in my book because I love her bio. Shauna in a Dress is your quirky best friend who refuses to wear pants. And it goes on. It's wonderful. I interviewed her in depth about how she crafts her bio, and it's really cool. It's quirky. She's fun. There she is in her dress. She's also got all of her contact information on her bio page. Part 3, buy your merch, stream your music. Remember, we said at the very top, we meaning I said, your website exists to do 2 things. One of the main things is make the money. The second thing is bring the fans in. So bio first brings fans in. They want to know more about you. Now you're going to maybe ask for them to buy merch or stream your music or buy your music. Here's some great examples. This is OK Go. They have a lot of different merch right here on their website. You can see they're using something called bandwear. This is Miss Laura Risotto. She has beautiful, well-designed products that completely fit her brand. So I thought I would include those. She's doing a Friends theme track this month, which it's perfect for her. She's a millennial all the way. She's got the Friends graphic design right here. She's actually got a track out, and for those of you that know anything about Friends, there's a giant commemoration of Friends. They just did their big reunion show this month. So Laura is sort of capturing what's in the zeitgeist, and she's bringing fans along for the journey. This is a really, really great idea for her brand and for her fans. Oh, this is Eli Lev. He is an amazing artist. I worked with him in very early days. He is a folk artist based in DC. His website is another one that you should spend hours on it. Look at how Eli has positioned himself. So when you go to his merch store, the first thing you're going to see is a video, and it is him holding up each individual piece of merchandise and taking us on a tour. And he does it in such a sweet way. It's as if you've watched his show and then you went to the merch table and he's like, hey, I'm Eli. He's sort of like a kid showing you his room. Like, these are my glasses and this is my mug. And this is here he's showing a coaster that you can buy, but he's also got tote bags and keychains and all sorts of wonderful things. And he opens up this magical suitcase and he takes his fans along on this video journey. Of course, he also has music on his page, and I love his thoughtfulness. So he's got 4 albums, which he's releasing. It's called the 4 Directions Project. And as you can see, 3 of the albums are out: Way Out West, All Roads East, Deep South, and then True North is coming soon. When all 4 albums fit together, they make a mandala. And what he does is when you click on one of the albums, it breaks out into this really brilliant way of listening to streaming. You follow him on Spotify. There's a follow button right there. If Spotify ain't your thing, he's got Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon, Pandora, and a straight download right here on his page. So he's given his fans the best possible way to stream all of his music right from his site. And I had to dig. It's hard to find this. A lot of artists kind of skip this idea. 4, live shows, streaming shows, or your tour dates. If you play live or you stream regularly, you want to have a section of your site dedicated specifically to this. If you're too busy to manage this, or you're not adept at growing your mailing list, which is a whole other pain in the butt thing, I recommend that you use the Bands in Town widget, because this allows you to link your shows across platforms, and they will own it, but you can use it. They can actually capture emails for you. Okay, David Miles is a folk artist from Canada. During the pandemic, he started really doing a lot of live streaming. As you can see right here, he's got his Miles from Home. He's branded his live streams. It's on YouTube Live. You can see he's advertising that. You can get a notification when his show is coming up, and he is using Bands in Town to manage all of this. So this would be for an artist that is not playing out. I know the pandemic is very much in play for many of us still. Playing out is still in the distant future. This is a great way of allowing artists, allowing your fans to see when your artists are playing. And I was trying to think of a band that was coming back strong out of the gate in the US, and Dave Matthews Band has actually announced a lot of live shows here. I love the way their website simply lays it out. They've got their show date, they've got where they're playing. And then the second one down here, I clicked on just to give you a sense. You can see it has the reschedule date for if people originally bought tickets, and then it's got the show time. And then if you click again, there's even more details. So the whole tour is like in a long format, and then you can click in, and then each show, of course, has the ticket link. Next, 5, your email list. You need to direct people to sign up for your email list. This plays into the part 2, making money. Now, you don't immediately make money when people sign up for your mailing list. That happens in the course I taught earlier today, which is available. I talk all about nurturing and how to get your fans to begin to come on a journey with you through your email list. So if you're lucky enough to get people to come to your website, you absolutely want to ask them to sign up for your email list. And I do recommend giving away something juicy and delicious, a free download, or a nice warm invitation is crucial. Because if you just say, sign up for my newsletter or sign up for my email, it's really just saying like, hey, sign up here and you're going to get more email, which nobody wants more email, let's face it. So I also recommend using a noise trade widget. You can create an artist account there and upload 10 tracks, 2 tracks, 5 tracks, however many tracks you want. Then you can make an embeddable code, and you can actually have that code put onto different websites and social channels. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze. Okay, Heather May. I love her whole brand. This is how she invites people to sign up. I would love to drop some positivity into your inbox. Tell me where to send it, BB. So name, she asks for email, she asks what city you're in, what state, and what zip code. That's because she is building her list so she can parse it out, so she can ask for like city and state targeting when she's going to go back on tour. So this is very brilliant. If you're going to go and ask people, you might as well ask for as much as you humanly can, because then you'll have the most amount of information that you can get from your fans. You do want to use your website to grow your list. So the free download, very important. I've got NoiseTrade, MailChimp, and Bandzoogle. You can automate an email for download through Bandzoogle's mailing list tool. If you use MailChimp, you can also program it. You also want to make sure on the footer of your website, on the About page, you have a sign up. Those are two places, especially the About page, the bio page, where you will get a huge amount of signups. I love the way Grace Kelly does her sign up. Now, there's one little tiny problem with this, which is if people have their pop-ups, like if they don't have pop-ups allowed, this actually, I have mostly my pop-ups not allowed, and this popped up for me when I came to her website, so I might be speaking out of class, but she uses something called Sumo. You can see it there. I went to her website. There's actually a really beautiful call to action, which you can order her new record and receive access to watch her whole concert online. So she's giving away something great. And there's a pop-up box. She wants your first name, last name, email, join the club, join the Grace Kelly Club, sign up for my newsletter to get news, exclusive videos, giveaways, and saxophone tips delivered directly into your inbox. So she's setting the expectation. It's not just like join my list, get more email. It's about like, here's something really sweet and juicy and delicious that you're going to get. This is the best way to get people to sign up for your mailing list, is by actually inviting them in a warm way. Okay, number 6, your contact info. Make sure you have your contact information with an email address, just a form to fill out. Although I know there's a lot of sort of fear around the web crawlers grabbing your email address and spamming you, I do not recommend just the contact form. I think in a best case scenario, you can have the contact form, but put an email address on your contact page. Do not make it hard for anyone to connect with you online, especially people in the music industry like media. If they have to fill out a form, if they're looking to interview you, or they need a photo, or they need something urgently, it will piss them off that they have to go fill out a whole form. Also, I have filled out a lot of those forms throughout my career trying to contact musicians, and weirdly, oftentimes that contact form goes to like an email address that the artist rarely checks, and then they check it like a month later and get back to you. That's horrible. So you want to make sure that if anyone is taking the time to contact you, you are easily contactable. Rich has a great one. He's got his contact page. He's got enter your name, enter your email, enter your subject, message me, say you're not a robot. And then he's also got his mailing address and his Gmail right there on the page. He's also got Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. So this is like any which way you want to contact Rich, here we go. This is Amy Spees. She's a little more managed than Rich, who's totally self-managed. So maybe you've got management, maybe you've got global touring booking agents, maybe you've got a radio or a press. She's in the middle right now of a huge new album launch. So she doesn't often have radio and press in Europe and all this, but if you want to get her, it's like, here's every possible way that you could do that. And I think that's fantastic. 7, links to your active socials. Tip: only link socials that you really actually maintain. Very often I'll go to a website and I'll see like a graphic for a MySpace page, or maybe Snapchat or Pinterest, or like something that the artists don't use very often, but like to fill up that whole line of social sites, they put everything there. Really, I would put only the ones that you're updating, because you don't want to let those socials go stale. So you want to make sure you return often to make sure your socials are updated. That means daily for socials and at least once a month for your website. You want to get in the habit of checking, are links dead? Did I change anything? Am I not using this as much, etc. Laura Risotto, I just said she's got Ross and Rach is her new track about Friends. As you can see, she's like dressed like she's in Friends. And she's got all the new places where you can actually find the track. She's also got this beautiful link in the corner of the social sites that she consistently updates. This is an older brand from when we worked with her, but I loved, she had a track out called Red Flag. Right now, everything looks like Ross and Rach, but back in the day, everything looked like Red Flag, and you can see everything's red. She's got red images, and everything was skinned. Even the highlight color on her Twitter is red. This is super, super important. Like I said, you want to like make sure that the brand is consistent across sites. And I promise you, if we click around Laura Risotto right now, it's all going to be about Ross and Rach. So it won't be about red flags because that was a track from a few years ago, but I loved this branding. Maya Azucena also has a very, very effective contact page. You can message her. She's got her PR, her booking, management. She's based in Turkey, so she's got a manager there. And then she's also got a video that you can see. Upcoming events, everything is sort of put on one page. And I think this is very effective. Okay, what are we going to do now? Get into action. You want to run a diagnostic on your whole website. Better yet, ask a fan or someone who is not in the day in and day out of the creation and editing of your website. Why? Sometimes you cannot see if your baby is ugly. So I highly recommend not doing the diagnostic all on your own, because what might look great to you might look not so great to others. Does your website load in those milliseconds, half a second? That's how much time you've got. Is your homepage popping? Is there a big, attractive, beautiful image? Will visitors get what kind of music you make just by popping in? Is your navigation bar easy to see? Now remember, the Gangster Grass didn't have the nav bar, but they had that great juicy offer about signing up to the mailing list. So sometimes you have to kind of choose your battles there. Do you have all 7 sections that I mentioned? Is there a juicy offer when people join your mailing list? Does it work on mobile? Does it have video content? This is very interesting. While prepping for this presentation, I found out that video content makes your website much more findable in Google, which makes a lot of sense considering that Google owns YouTube. So YouTube videos are getting archived and getting crawled and getting inserted into Google searches. This is really cool. So make sure you've got video content throughout your website. Maya Azucena had it on her contact page. Eli Lev had it on his merch page. Some of the artists that I looked at, although I didn't show you that in the homepage, but many artists choose to put video right on their homepage. David Miles does that, and I think it's brilliant. It sucks you right into like, oh, what is this about? Let me play a video. Do you have merch? If you have merch and it's not on your website, number 2 reason to have a website, to make a money. So put it there. I'm going to add 11 before I download these slides and send them for upload onto the Folk Talk Academy site. Number 11, make sure you have Google Analytics inserted onto your website. The reason for this is you want to know where people are landing on your site and make sure that those pages are consistently being optimized, because you might find out that, and I often find this with artists when we do their analytics, people spend an inordinate amount of time on the about page, the bio page, even though you might want them to be on the home page or wherever it is, you know, you feel is the most important page. So then we have to look at like, okay, how can we optimize for SEO? That's always the question. So thanks. Please come and sign up to my email list. You can copy everything I do. You can look at my welcome series. Spend a little bit of time on our website if you'd like to come and read. There are hundreds of articles. Many go into deep dives about how to work on your marketing and promotion. I am Cyber PR on all platforms. Feel free to ask me questions. Come sign up for the mailing list. I do answer all emails if you've got a deep question you'd like to ask me. And now it's time for some Q&A.
Thank you ever so much. Again, absolutely fantastic to see so much detail and depth and all of those wonderful artist examples. If anybody does have any questions and you'd like to put them in the Q&A function, please do. We've a couple here already, and then I have a few as well. The first question that someone's asked is that they have a portfolio career as an artist. And I've come across this with a number of musicians who might be session musicians, composers, they might do things for schools or whatever. How do you think you should reflect that in your website? Should they have multiple websites for different parts of their career, or is there a way to include that in one go?
Yes. Okay, this is a great question. I think, you know, the more you have to maintain, the harder it can be. So you don't want to have multiple websites, because then I think a lot of times also I see this with multiple, like people are like, oh, I'll make an entire social set of, I'll make a Facebook page just for my production. And then you're like, oh my God, I have to update 2 Facebook pages, and that becomes hell. So if it works for your brand, I recommend one page, and you could have a landing page that says, like, for my production studio, click here. For my music, click here. If they really are completely separate, you might have to separate them. But again, it's like 2 things to maintain. If there's any way of collapsing, but yet making a distinction, you could certainly do that. If you think back to how Heather May had the 2 bios on the one page, she's got the like, hey, I want to be your best friend, first person, and then she's got the more formal bio for the media. You could have bio about production. Here's all my production credits. Here's my studio. Here's what I'll do. Here's how I can record for you, all that. And then you might have, as an artist, I do this and this and this. So 2 bios on the one bio page, for example. So that might be one way of collapsing yet differentiating. But yes, I think it's funny. I even have an ARIEL HYATT website, and I like every year I'm like, oh God, I don't want to. And I never update it. I just update Cyber PR music all the time and then forget about this whole other thing. So don't do that unless you need to. That's what I would say.
That sounds absolutely eminently sensible. There's a second question here which links into something I was going to ask as well. Someone's asked how often they should update the image and the front page of their websites. How often do people return to websites versus social media? And as an addendum, one thing I'm interested in your opinion of is kind of how you regulate your time, how you manage your time to make sure that you are checking through these things and that you don't leave it too long, because obviously the world sort of takes over. So I guess those 2 things: how often should you update your website, and what's the best time management advice that you might have to keeping on top of that kind of stuff?
I really think of a website, I mean, obviously it's there for fans, for getting people to sign up for your email list. It is amazing to me how little thought goes into actually driving people to your website. Like everybody's so worried about like selfie, and then they forget to like put a call to action, like, hey, I have a website. Would you come and visit it? Hey, I have a website. I wrote a really nice blog post there. I'm talking all about my divorce, whatever. You're not sending people to your website. So you want to absolutely use your social channels to drive people to your website. So that's the first thing. The second thing is many people in the industry, the website is still where they're going to like find out about you, read about you, get who you are, look at your history. They're probably not going to go scroll back 600 pages onto your Instagram to find out like where you've played. You want to have like, here's all my live shows, past and present, for example. So you should keep your website updated as often as possible. I like the Eli Lev school. The website can support all 4 releases because they all go together, because he thought out ahead. Now, for those of us that aren't like that, I mean, I remember when he called me 2 years ago and he's like, I've got 4 albums. And I was like, oh my God, okay. That's not how everyone thinks. Laura Risotto, she does, every time she does a new single, she changes her brand. And that's a pain in the ass. She changes her merch, she changes, skins everything. But that's also very much about who she is. She takes people along on the journey as it relates to each single that she's dropping. This is why getting a very easy to manage website is key. I don't think you need to be in there like tweaking it and updating it. And I mean, unless you're like a consistent blogger all that often, but it's really, really easy to begin to forget about your website. You really want to make sure that you're updating it. I would say at least take a spin around it once every couple of months and make sure. I was just looking at mine the other day. My darn bio is from 2016. Like, I've written bios since then. I just never put it up on the website. That happens all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And just as a plug for tomorrow's Folk Talk Academy lecture, I'll be talking with Bella Hardy about showcasing and showcases and networking. And we'll touch a little bit on exactly this, about how you're totally right, Ariel, that the music industry look at the website as almost a first port of call. And that whether that bio is up to date or not is a really crucial element. Off the top of your head, as a ballpark figure, how much do you think people should be spending on building a new website that meets and matches all of your 7 criteria?
So that's why I love Bandzoogle. For, I think it's like $17 a month, or for the deluxe, you could spend that. And the reason why I like it, again, I mentioned a little bit about WordPress. WordPress is great if you have like, if you're like Manifest. I didn't put any screenshots from him. I'll do before I download. He's got a merch store, he's got a bio, he's got a blog, he's got so many moving parts. It's necessary for him to have a robust back end like that. He also has quite a business. He's making 6 figures in merch sales a year. If that is not you, a simple Bandzoogle website gets you up and running really quickly. I mean, I know some of you might be bristling at the idea of like, oh, $15 a month, or I could just, use. I'm not a huge fan of Wix. I think their websites are quite cheesy, and then it's got all the signage all over it. It's an investment. If you can't figure out how to write off $15 a month, you have to check yourself as an artist. But I would use a Squarespace, or I would use a Bandzoogle. That way there's no investment to make except your time. Now, if you're paying a graphic designer, I can tell you what we charge at CyberPR. We charge $500 for a basic, $750 for a medium, and a $1,200 for like deluxe with all the bells and whistles and a merch store. And we put your Google Analytics, but we're US based. So we're going to charge probably more than say a Fiverr would. So there's a huge global marketplace. My advice for working with Fiverr is, please be sure to hire someone who has a lot of reviews on Fiverr. You might find someone who looks really nice and they might have some screenshots, but at least 100 reviews or 50 reviews of people that have said my website was great, and make sure that they deliver on time. But I think for like less than a couple $100, if you don't want to mess with Bandzoogle yourself, you could certainly have someone build a website for you.
Thanks for that really comprehensive one. It never even occurred to me about paying a monthly cost for this kind of thing. That's a great tip. Picking up on one of the questions we spoke about earlier, someone's asked in the chat here, they're a promoter and an agent, and I've come across this quite a bit in the folk scene, especially in the UK. People who have multiple hats on, they might also be an agent and an artist. When you've got career portfolios that are so diverse, off the top of your head, do you think that that's the kind of thing people should be looking to separate out, or do you think actually there's a way through that in one singular website?
I think for that case, you might want to separate. Just because if you're trying to promote your own music and you have people like hitting you up all day long trying to get a booking, they're really not interested in joining your email list to get your music. And I think when you collapse them, you're just pissing people off. So I think in those cases, like especially if you are a promoter, when I was a booking agent, and this is pre-internet, the packages that would arrive, hundreds of CDs a month of people that just wanted to be booked. And that was hard to manage because I also had a digital PR firm, and it was like the people that wanted booking never wanted PR. They wanted a booking agent. And so the streams could not cross. So in that case, I would recommend a separate brand unless you can sort of manage the deluge.
Yeah, I think that's quite clear. Thinking about that audience journey seems to be, and who that target audience is, seems to be at the forefront of what you've spoken about here. In terms of analytics, you touched on analytics, and we have a session later this week from Owen Ralph, who's going to be talking about. There you go. Who's been going to be talking? He's been talking a lot about advanced social media and things. But I know that we have a lot of people who I think he'll touch on some of this too. But analytics seems like such a terrifying thing if you've never come across it before. And you might, as I did the first time we uploaded Google Analytics to some of our websites, looked at all of the incredible data and thought, how on earth do I use this? Do you have any top tips for the main outcomes that you're looking for when you add Google Analytics to your website straight away? Is it about user experience? Is it about who are users? What do you think is the most important thing to get to grips with first?
I do think who are users, and this goes for everything. This goes for the data on Facebook, on Spotify, on Twitter. Who are they? As much as you might want to be talking about something, and then you find out, like, if your audience is like all male, for example, and you're a woman and you're spending a lot of time like talking about nail polish and shopping and buying girly clothes, I mean, that might totally appeal to your male audience, but it might not, right? So I think when you can just find out like, oh, it's 60% men, it's 40% women, it's all in the UK, or, oh my gosh, I have this whole pocket of people in Australia that I didn't even know. That will help you determine, like, if you've got people who are following you in Australia, you might want to start posting on your social media in the middle of the night. Of course, you'll program that, but these are things to kind of understand, and that's important. So who are they would be the top thing. The second thing I really love looking at is what pages are people going to. It might surprise you. There might be a page that's just getting the most amount of traffic and you didn't even realize it. So I think looking at where people are going is important. And then the last thing you do want to pay attention to is how long are people spending on each page? Are they actually taking the time to read, or is the bounce rate like something crazy, like they're only there for 10 seconds? Because you want to make sure that you're capturing people for at least some time. And I know we're in an ADD world and people are just going to bounce right over to Instagram if that's their social media drug of choice and they want to find you there. But it is really, really important to understand how long people are spending on your website, because then you can begin to optimize it to see if you can get them to stay longer.
That's great. That's really helpful. Thank you. We're running out of time today. I wonder if you might want to take a minute or two just to tell us about your book, which is behind you, which I know is coming out soon, and anything else that people might find helpful or interesting on your website.
This is my new book. It is The Ultimate Guide to Music Publicity. It is available on Amazon UK. Because of my email list on my website, it's #1. And I only say that because the two areas that I spoke about for Folk Talk, they're not the sexiest areas for a lot of artists. They're like, oh, my website, and oh God, email list. And it's not as fun as TikTok, which is so dynamic and new and interesting, or maybe TikTok makes you want to die. I don't know. But yes, my new book is The Ultimate Guide to Music Publicity. It is a handbook on how to do all of your own PR soup to nuts. If that's not your thing, it also talks about how to hire a publicist, how to effectively find, research, and get one on your team. My website is cyberprmusic.com. There's over 400 articles there. There's a ton of freebies. You can download my music publicity check sheet, the marketing plan check sheet, the how to not sound like a dick when you're writing a biotech check sheet. So we have all kinds of free information for artists, and you can find me there.